initiatives that empower women just came to a close at search. The following podcast will discuss some of our learnings and reflections of these two projects. Both projects were implemented over the course of the last 2 years in the districts of Badulla, Kurunegala, Ampara and Jaffna. One of the projects was called WILL. The project was funded by European Union and the project was focusing on strengthening women's voice and participation in political decision making in Sri Lanka. The project was targeting at increased capacity of local women, CSO leaders and elected women leaders to participate in decision making at the district, provincial and national level in a way that is more accountable to their local constituencies. The project was also focusing on increased capacity and engagement of local media actors to challenge negative stereotypes and enable positive attitudes towards women's role in decision making. The other project was called WAGE. The WAGE Sri Lanka initiative was focusing on strengthening the role of women leaders in promoting peace and reconciliation in Sri Lanka. The project also had an integrated approach combining women's economic empowerment along with women, peace and security and gender-based violence. This was implemented in partnership with Grameen Foundation with the support from Global Women's Initiative through the American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative. Both these projects were aimed at capacity building, creating networking opportunities, promoting mutual accountability dialogues with the community, advocacy initiatives, media fellowships, radio productions, creation of mechanisms like the Women in Learning and Leadership Clubs at district and village level, multi-stakeholder working groups, exchange visits, local dialogues, linkages to financial service providers, and seed grants to implement collaborative action plans. SEARCH worked with the Affected Women Forum from Akkarepattu, Women Development Centre from Badulla, Women Resource Centre from Kurunegala, Centre for Women and Development from Jaffna, Federation of Sri Lanka Local Government Authorities, Grameen Foundation and Jaffna Social Action Centre as implementing partners. Elected women leaders at the local authorities, CSO women leaders and journalists from the districts of Ampara, Badulla, Jaffna and Kurunegala were the primary beneficiaries. To further describe the project and the related issues, I have my colleague Rasika Deepani, who is the Deputy Project Manager for the cluster, to talk about the changes and the impact we made through the project. Rasika, over to you.
Yes, Nisha, there are several changes. First, some mechanisms like WILL clubs are gradually taking root as a sustainable platform. WILL Club is an initiative to create a women-only safe place created by women to discuss sensitive issues, exchange ideas, learn to build networks, capacity building and to support each other beyond political affiliations, ethnicity and religion. The second one, creation of Women's and Children's Committee in several local government bodies. This is a significant change because not all local government bodies were open to talking about these topics. Another change I like to mention, gender-sensitive media reporting and positive narrations of women political leaders. We were able to get some media personnel to value the work done by elected women leaders and to have gender sensitivity which carried over into their reporting styles. Increased linkage for women leaders in peace and security. Countering gender-based violence and economic empowerment sector in the respective districts. Women are now able to form networks to work in these thematic areas.
Rasika, would you also like to talk about the learnings we had from these projects?
Yes, Nisha. Since all of our work is a learning process, there are few things we can improve on in relation to both the WILL and WAGE initiatives. First one, working relationship between elected women leaders and civil society organization leaders can be improved. We need more collaboration between these parties and need to think of how we can facilitate this. And also second one, some of the activities we carried out like the need assessment and resource mapping should be accompanied with a small grant for a selected numbers of proposals developed as a result. We could look at mobilizing and allocating fund for it. We need more integration between the activities on the themes of women, peace and security, gender-based violence and women economic empowerment activities. These two thematic areas go hand in hand when it comes to empowering women.
I agree, Rasika. I would also like to add more in terms of the biggest learnings from these projects. We noticed that elected women leaders need more support from the chairman of the local councils and other male members of their councils to support in the early stages of the project. For an example, now when these women leaders were developing collaborative action plans and trying to put in for their approvals to get it passed through their councils, there were no support from the male counterparts or the chairman, because the chairman or the others didn't know about this project. So therefore, if we could have engaged the other counterparts at an initial stage, the support could have been better for these women to get it formalized, whatever the project outputs, through their local authorities. Therefore, we need a good mechanisms to get their involvement in the project activities. The other would be that we never thought that the party politics would be a challenge when it comes to implementing the activities. So, for an example, again on the need assessment and resource mapping activities, even though we were looking at more of a gender aspect as a common issue there, the women leaders, the women political leaders were mostly focusing on their party priorities. So that is there, so we may need to be mindful and factor in party politics when designing activities like this in the future. And also the last one would be that we need to find ways to integrate different actors and promote intersectoral awareness of different thematic areas. This will level up leadership qualities of all parties involved. However, the integration needs to be carefully designed with more consideration of the ground realities and contextual changes. So, while we were implementing all these two projects, that the Wage Initiative and the Will Initiative, we had several challenges of COVID and the economic crisis, so that the ground realities were sometimes a shock. So that more understanding of the contextual changes and the ground realities is a priority, while we implement the project. On the go, it has to be done. As much as we are able to see the positive results over the past 2 years, we have also managed to recalibrate this work many times in response to external situations like COVID-19 and the political and economic crisis in the country. We have managed this only because of the dedication of our team, our partners and our donors. In years to come, Search is already using some of these learnings and observations to work towards meaningful change.